Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. With this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 1 of the anime series, Ushio and Tora. And this was a series that, looking back at the PVs for the upcoming, summer 2015 anime series that we're going to be beginning, this was a PV that didn't immediately strike me as something I would actually have interest in or could get into. The animation style of it, looking at it from the PV, I remember thinking, I don't know, man, I don't know if I can get into this. And I'm actually really happy I gave the first episode a shot after all, because it was all kinds of over the top and hilarious, action packed, and I'm not somebody who gets thoroughly into like the overly dramatic horror and stuff like that kind of anime, supernatural stuff. I mean, a lot of it is just the same old thing over and over and over again, at least to my estimation, and so I don't always get into it. I don't gravitate toward it. And this episode actually does things in a much more fun and creative way, playing very much on the whole yokai theme, which I've talked about in previous videos of other shows, Show by Rock specifically, where they dealt with yokai and such like that. But also, films going back to the Great Yokai War and Kitaro and stuff like that. That whole aspect of Japanese mythology, doing, with spirits and tricksters and everything like that. And this series, looking at it, it harkens back to me, after watching this first episode, of more classic anime, like, in the style of things you saw coming out in the late 80s, early 90s, in how over the top and off the wall it is, but also just the visual style of the characters, the way the entire appearance of this series looks. I've just recently gotten back into reading like Fist of the North Star, the original manga, and thinking of things like Akira, and this really kind of harkens back to that feel in its look and its style, but it also kind of marries with a more modern series like Shokugeki no Souma, which I'm also covering in episodic reviews, in its over-the-topness and hilarity, the comedy that it's offering up, and the action and everything, and the intensity. And so I was really impressed by this first episode. Let me say, starting right out of the gate, that I don't know if this is going to be a series that warrants episodic coverage, in that I don't know if the story is going to be that momentous, where I'm going to want to cover every little aspect of it from episode to episode, but I at least wanted to come on and talk about my first impressions of this first episode, which really thoroughly impressed me. And that is because we're following around the character of Ushio, one of the two titular characters, and I love how immediately at the start of the episode you get right into that over-the-topness, because he's got his very stoic father talking about the beast spear that has been housed in their homestead for thousands of years or whatever it is, at least 500 years, and he's never seen it. Ushio's never seen it, so he's kicking his father around the room. The father's kicking him around the room, and it turns out this father's going to be going on another sort of traveling escapade for the third time in a month or whatever it is, or in 3 months, I forget exactly. And Ushio's just like, get the hell out. Just let me go on with my life and what I got to deal with, going to school, all that stuff. Just be gone already, and I'll take care of things. And he's been left with the charge of airing out the books, I guess like the tapestries, the historical texts. And he stumbles on the fact that there is this basement. He actually breaks the doors, and falls into the pit. And here we have debuted this gigantic beastly yokai that he eventually names Tora because he looks like a lion. And apparently Tora means tiger or whatever. He kind of looks more like a lion to me than a tiger, but whatever. He is uber beastly, and he's hilarious. I mean, the first thing out of his mouth is, almost like Hulk in Avengers, puny human is his attitude toward this kid, and the kid's basically just like, all right, well, I'm kind of flabbergasted that all the things my father were telling me were true, but forget you. I'm just going to lock you back up and I'm going to go about my day. So he goes to school, and we're debuted to these other two characters, of course, Ino and Nakamura. Nakamura being hilarious in that she's kind of antagonistic. I guess she's supposed to be like the tsundere character in this equation. I think she has more of an attraction toward Ushio, whether that be friendship or, actual attraction romantically, so remains to be seen. But it's definitely intriguing, the dynamic between them, how antagonistic she is toward him. We see that, Ushio is somebody who's creative. He wants to be an artist. He wants to draw and everything like that. He is uber good and talented physically so at football. He could make the football team or whatever, be part of that club, but he'd much rather set his sights on his creativity, even though he's not very good of an artist, as everyone in class is ribbing him. Even Nakamura, you know, she kind of gives him words that are supposed to propel him to want to achieve more, but it just kind of makes him feel worse about it. And again, they're chasing each other around when, you know, he accidentally kicks one of the soccer balls toward her, and she thinks he did it on purpose, all this stuff. And she's constantly after him for a notebook she lent him, I guess for studies or whatever it is, and she wants it back. So, of course, after school, you have both she and this, you know, character going to his homestead to try to reclaim that book, and immediately he's seeing these yokai spirits, these like snake-like spirits all around them, and they can't see them, obviously, and they think he's freaking out. And he goes and he encounters Tora once again, and they kind of make an impromptu deal. What I love about the relationship between these two characters is you have Tora who's like, yeah, as soon as you let me free, I'm going to eat you, and then I'm going to eat the rest of humanity. And you have that point where Ushio's like, well, look, I'm not going to let you free if you're going to eat people. We got to come to sort of an agreement. Tora says, okay, we'll come to an agreement. I won't eat you. I'll help you, this kind of thing. But then, of course, Ushio then asks him again, so what are you going to do when you get free? He's like, I'm going to eat you. Oh, damn it. You know? And so I love that dynamic between them. And of course, they do make an impromptu deal, because as Ushio pulls this beast spear that's been lodged in Tora for 500 years, keeping him pinned inside this basement, he unlocks this power that seems to siphon in all the yuki, if you will, these like spiritual gases that have built up that are calling all these yokai spirits to this focal point that have been released inadvertently by Tora and by Ushio. And so now they kind of have to come together, and this power that, you know, emanates from the spear transforms and turns Ushio into a beast-like creature of his own volition. And basically they are like a beastly pair who then goes terrassing around all these yokai, taking them down, turning them into ash and everything like that, saving the lives of these girls. And once this is all said and done, you know, you have Tora who's like, okay, well, I'll see you later, I'm going. And Ushio has now, you know, transformed back into his normal self. And he's like, there's going to be more of this. You know, it's been 500 years that those gases, that yuki built up, more yokai are going to be coming, and you're going to help me, mother effer. You know, you're not going anywhere. And so we kind of leave with that by the end, and it's just a really rollicking, fun, fast-paced and intriguing series from the get-go, from out of the gate. Thoroughly intrigued me. Like I say, I don't know if this is going to warrant episodic coverage. Well, you know, it'll remain to be seen as episodes debut, but I at least wanted to come on and talk about how astounded I was, because it was not a series I was immediately pointed toward as, you know, potentially being interesting and that I might want to check out. And it completely, you know, 180-degree turn pulled me in, and I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I actually can't wait to see more and how this story is going to unfold. What's going to happen when Pops comes home and he finds out, hey, the kid went and pulled the spear out, now he's got the monster he's, you know, shacked up with, and they're going to be fighting monsters, all this stuff. Was this part of the grand scheme of things? Was this part of the plan? Did Ushio just sort of fall into, you know, his rightful place in a sort of lineage? As we see, there is a lineage to it where maybe this spear and its content, the things that, you know, in fighting monsters and all that kind of stuff, seem to have been passed down from a samurai who first pierced this beast that Tora is, you know. And was that, you know, something that was befitted of Ushio in the framework of all this stuff? Is it a generational thing where he is now only just living up to taking on that charge? Or was it really all accidental and coincidental, and Pops is going to come home and be like, WTF, what did you do while I was away? It remains to be seen, and it'll remain to be seen if I want to talk about it episodically or not, but I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 1 of Ushio to Tora, or Ushio and Tora, because it was astounding to me at least, and looks thoroughly enjoyable, and I want to see more. So, yep, otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.